What is going on, Bills fans? How we doing tonight? Sterling is off tonight. Got caught up at work, so dealing with Anthony and I and Alaina Getzenberg from ESPN Buffalo Bills reporters. That's September, right?
Yeah, right.
Very
Week
new.
1. Hey, new job. We know how that goes, right? Welcome to the party. But I'm sure Bills Mafia has welcomed you with open arms. At least we hope they have, right?
Absolutely.
Not a great week to be on with us right now. I mean, it's
Right.
hard to bring the energy this week, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot to talk about and a lot to get into. But my God, when we knew we were having you between Jags and Jets, we're like, okay, well, we'll have a little bit to talk about. Bills will be rolling.
Mhm.
And now, sure enough, we're dreading the conversations to be had today, right?
Yeah.
But
And
thank you for taking the time to be with us. We really appreciate it. I was hoping we could have you on at some point during the season now that you've got the position you're in now. So can you tell us a little bit about how things have been with ESPN and what you're doing? And obviously everybody knows where to find you. We all Bills fans read your stuff because, we love it and it's ESPN. And but yeah, you could say a little bit about yourself to start out if you want.
Sure. Well, thank you. And I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a roller coaster, kind of just jumped right into the season. And yes, I've been very well welcomed by Bills Mafia, a little overwhelmed at times. There's so much energy, which I appreciate it. It's great. Sometimes it's like there's a lot of passion and like it's different and great. But things have been good. It's been fun covering this team. There's been, they're giving us a little more to write about right now. Certainly keeping it interesting. And it's a fun team. There's a lot of personalities. I like Buffalo so far. And for anyone who doesn't know, I was covering the Carolina Panthers before this for the Charlotte Observer. And now I'm with ESPN, ESPN.com. I don't even know if I need to say that. But yeah, it's been fun. And I'm excited to kind of see where things go from here. But it's kind of been cool I've seen this team from afar for so many years, and kind of now to be there here on a daily basis it's given me an interesting perspective. I
checked out your article, What Went Wrong with the Buffalo Bills Offense and Can It Be Fixed? A lot of details about this game in there. If you haven't checked it out yet, be sure to check that out on the Buffalo Bills blog on ESPN. But what I got to know, why does everything Buffalo come from Charlotte now?
Yeah, it's the Carolina connection yet again. Here we go, right? Ever since Sean McDermott, it's just now. That's right.
The GM, the coach.
Yep, it started with Sean. Right? It started with Sean, and Marcel came over, and the players came over. Brandon came over. I don't know what to tell you guys. The weather is not better up here overall, so it's not that. But here we all are, and it's cool because there's actually a couple guys I covered on the Panthers.
Oh, really? Yeah, I was going to ask.
So I covered Mario. I covered Efe Obada very recently, which is Andre Smith. There's like a few guys. I never had the pleasure of covering Star when he was a longtime Panther.
Wow.
But there's a few guys, so there are a lot of familiar faces.
You know who else is from Charlotte? Joe Marino.
That's right. He's in the area too. Yeah, podcaster, friend of the podcast.
Always talks about Charlotte. Now it's a nice place to live. So
I guess maybe it's a big trend. I can't explain it.
So if you want to get into covering the Buffalo Bills or be a Buffalo Bills player, move to Charlotte.
Yeah, right. There you go.
There you go.
Better odds.
Anyway, let's pay some bills here. Underdog Fantasy is sponsoring our show tonight. Be sure to check them out. It's the best place to play fantasy sports, including best ball, daily drafts, and pick 'em. Start drafting in minutes for a shot at big cash. It is your last chance to deposit. Sign up and deposit $25 and get another $10 on Underdog Fantasy. Again, that's Underdog Fantasy, your daily fantasy sports app.
Yeah, still working it with those, player prop parlays and the pick'ems every week. It's a lot of fun. If you're not on there yet, you still got a chance to hop on and get that $10 bonus.
Yeah, so let's say hi to some of the folks tonight. Reptile, always great here week in, week out. Another loyal, Dawn, how you doing tonight? Brian Bowers, we go way back. He's actually been on the show. What's going on, man?
Yeah, that was
yes.
Was there a game Sunday? Please. I mean, I don't think the Bills know if there was a game on Sunday at this point.
Trey Ellis, how you doing tonight? Nick Terry. Thought he was about to pop in here and see Sterling spitting some BS, so thankful it's Alaina instead.
You're welcome.
It's actually kind of a relief for us.
Oh, there you go, Sterling.
So.
Yeah.
So, first topic of the night. Let's get some steam off here. Odell Beckham Jr. clears waivers and is now a free agent. Where does he sign? Anthony, you want to go first on this? And
Sure.
just keep in mind, there's only, per Adam Schefter, there's only 9 teams with the cap space to sign him. That's Jacksonville, Philadelphia, Denver, Seattle, Carolina, the LA Chargers, Pittsburgh, Washington, and Cincinnati.
Ooh. Well, that wasn't one of my choices. That wasn't my option. The team, I thought about this for a little while. First off, not the Bills, right? That's my answer right away. People are like, well, maybe. No, under no way, shape, or form. No, thank you. Not in it. Not if he wants $1. Not if he'll pay us. No, thank you. Don't want that chemistry on this team disrupting what we have going for us, no matter what the situation is. Anyway, the team I thought would be a great fit for him would be the Raiders, actually. The Las Vegas Raiders, I felt like they can use an upgrade at receiver. They could use somebody like this. They're not so much concerned about the character thing. They need a number one guy who can, have attitude and, and that's just the way they're built is a lot different than the way this Bills team is built. But that wasn't one of your options under the cap. So they would have to manipulate something.
There's always a way to get some space.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, we know the cap, you can do all sorts of things, defer things, rework somebody's contract,
I
give them guarantees next year.
Not to cut in. So sorry.
No,
I do think
go
now
ahead.
that he's a free agent, there are a couple more teams that could sign. Like I think there's a little more flexibility because the amount that he was due is less. So I think it expands it to some teams. I still think you still have to have cap space, to add a player. So there's still some limits.
Right. How low is he willing to go? Yeah, I think he at this point in his career, I think he would take a pretty large pay cut to play with a contender, right? So I think if a team that has a winning record, who's maybe projected to be in the playoffs and be a top seed, they could get a really good deal.
Right.
Are you going to get a committed OBJ? That's the big question. I think now that he's a free man, right? He clearly wasn't happy in Cleveland. I think you're going to get his best effort or, his best attitude, in my opinion. So, I mean,
a team like the Raiders, they're fighting for that position in the AFC. I think that could be a move that makes sense to them. They're saying we need all the things we can get to try and contend and put ourselves in that position to maybe fight for a number 2 seed in the AFC or even in their division, right? So, yeah, it's tough for them. I don't know. What do you got, Alaina? What team were you thinking?
I think it's hard because there's a few teams I think would really make sense. I mean, apparently, per one of my ESPN colleagues, he's pretty interested in the Packers, and I think that could make a lot of sense. Although they do have pretty good.
Dangerous.
That would be dangerous for sure. They have a good receiver group though, so it seems like what would his role be, in that offense? But I mean, if the Saints could make it work with the cap, I think that makes so much sense. He went to LSU, I think that's pretty logical. So I think that would be a good fit, and they could certainly, with whatever's going on with Michael Thomas, he's done for the season, I believe. That to me would be a natural fit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think a sneaky team is the Patriots because that makes probably my top 2 of the Patriots and the Saints, because I know it's not probably something Bills fans want to hear. It makes sense for that offense. And I think that could be somewhere where he hasn't really experienced something like that. And it could be something,
Yeah, I think Odell Beckham could out decoy N'Keal Harry. He'd be the best decoy in the league in New England.
Yeah, I mean, that would certainly be an upgrade for them at the wide receiver position. So they could use some help there. But do they have the cap room at this point? Maybe. But, any team can make it work, like we said. And I certainly hope he doesn't go there because I don't want New England to have another threat. At the same time, it's like, maybe the Odell versus Bill Belichick scenario is one that I'd like to see play out in my mind a little bit. But
Oh yeah,
who knows?
it's hard to see him not go to a contender, kind of like you guys are like. It's like
Right.
I can't see him wanting to go. So I think that really limits like the Raiders and like those other teams. That's what makes sense.
Saints could make a lot of sense too. You brought them up. I think that would
I think there's like only a handful that it's like, okay, that actually like checks out. So
Right. So yeah, I'm surprised he cleared waivers, to be honest. But now that he is, I'm sure he's in the driver's seat. All right, so let's get the elephant in the room here. The Bills lose to the Jaguars 6-9. The Bills have not scored a touchdown in Jacksonville since 2015. I don't know why.
That's wild. That's so wild. That's not the first time I've heard it.
Why.
It's wild.
And the first question I have is, do you believe in curses? Because I certainly did not. But then we talk about
the Peyton Manning.
Hey, first the Madden curse.
Yeah, right.
Pat Mahomes, he's been on Madden twice, and now it's affecting him, in my opinion. Now you have the Manning curse, the Manning cast curse, where I think I got the tweet from last week here.
Oh, yeah.
Every time a player comes on the Manning cast, that player loses the next game. And that is certainly true with Josh Allen. And they did mention this, I think, on one of the broadcasts. And I thought for sure Josh Allen, no, he can't be affected by this. There's no way.
Against the Jaguars,
he goes to Jacksonville and doesn't score a single touchdown, has 3 turnovers. So do you believe in curses? Alaina, are curses real?
No. This Manning cast thing honestly is a good case for it though. Because what you just said is exactly what my thought process was. Everyone, when Josh was going on Monday, it was like, it kept coming up like, oh, the Manning cast curse. And it was like, yeah, okay, they're playing the Jaguars. Like, everyone calm down. And then it happened. And so I think, like, I tweeted this Sunday, if I'm an active player, I'm saying no. Like, I'm just saying, sorry, guys, I can't do it. So usually I don't, but I think there are exceptions. And right now, that does it's too much of a trend for it not to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Jason Taylor says curses are BS.
But I think Alaina's point is the most valid one that I was going to say. As a scientist, do I believe in curses? Am I superstitious? Do I wear the same outfit when the Bills win down to the socks? Yes, absolutely. Yes. But that's different. That's just more of a, feeling I want to get in that winning mode type situation.
Well, what did you wear Sunday is what I got to know.
Exactly. The same thing I wore the week before, and look what happened. But although, speaking of curses, I should bring this up. My brother Adam is probably not watching. I moved back to Syracuse this year, and my brother Adam, who's the other Bills fan in my immediate family, and my uncle who's down in Florida, they're the reason I'm a Bills fan and have been from day one. And Adam and I have watched games together all season. Week 1, Pittsburgh, I went to the game. He did not. We lost. The Titans game on Monday night, we decided not to watch it because we both were working during the day, and it just didn't work out as well as a Sunday did. We lost. This weekend, he had to work or something, and he didn't come over to watch the game. We lost. Every game he's been with me and we've watched win. Every game he hasn't been, we've lost. So same thing. I told him this week, I'm like, I don't care where you are. I am dragging you over to my place to watch the game now from the rest of the season, because it's call it a curse, call it what you want. But I think the real thing in the case of the Manning cast is players are just going to say no, because they don't want that karma on them, right? They don't want people in their locker room saying, bro, why did you go on that show knowing it was going to cause us to lose this game the next week, right? No matter what. So I bet a lot of people active players start saying, no, thanks, I'll catch you in the off season or something.
My final thought on that is, Madden, you stay the hell away from my quarterback.
That's right. No Allen on Madden.
So it was a terrible loss. I don't think the Bills' offense was the worst I've seen in quite some time. I want to say it's the worst offensive performance I've seen in the Sean McDermott era, but I think that might be a stretch. If we go back to the Kelvin Benjamin days, that might be a stretch. But definitely the worst performance
with
in the last
talent.
2 seasons.
Certainly the worst performance with talent.
Yes,
by far.
So
by far.
Anthony, what is your one single takeaway from
One-
this game?
One single?
We'll give you one.
Are you kidding me? One single takeaway? We suck. That's the single takeaway. What do you want? I mean, there's plenty to talk about here, right? The beginning of the game, I was furious at a few things. I mean, we can talk about the refs all day long. They threw flags on everything. Oh, false start. Oh, here we go. Oh, wait, breathing on the Bills. It was ridiculous, the amount of penalties that were called, the way that first penalty shook out with Trey White, and we called it against him. But wait, no, now we're going to call it only against Trey. No, you can call offsetting at that point when you have a conversation about it, but you can't change your mind completely and put it on the other guy. Like, that made no sense. I've never seen anything like that before, and that really set the tone for the entire rest of the game, where the flags just kept flying with no reasonable explanation for what the flag was. No replay, and when they did show the replay, they're trying to make stuff up even. The announcers are like, I have no idea what just happened, but
12
bottom line,
penalties on the Bills.
Bottom line, you
yards.
cannot blame the refs. I don't care if they did throw every flag there was in every single situation. You can't blame the refs. You came out stale. You came out horrible. Sean McDermott had, oh my God, probably his worst game as a head coach. Literally, I was screaming at him throughout the game, thinking like, what is going on here? The Bills don't have anything. They're not mixing it up. The fourth down conversion they allowed on defense. I mean, there were lots of Bills fans there. You could hear the Bills fans when Jacksonville was on third down. The biggest thing for me that McDermott did, again, and I tweeted about this during the game, absolutely unacceptable. If Urban Meyer outcoached Sean McDermott in this game, Urban Meyer knew more about how the NFL works in this game than Sean McDermott did. That is absolutely not acceptable on any single level in the NFL whatsoever. You're a fourth-year head coach, and you just got outsmarted and outcoached by the worst head coaching hire in NFL history. And I've said that on record on this show multiple times. The worst NFL head coaching hire in history just beat your bottom, and you let him walk all over you. Specifically, when it came to throwing the challenge flag. At the end of the half, Urban Meyer took the challenge flag and threw it. We're not going to win this, but I was going to call timeout anyway. So here, have a challenge flag and check it out for me, right? Whoa, no challenge, clearly not a play. Okay, you're charged a timeout. Great, I still have another challenge, but I got to see the replay anyway. Sean McDermott could have gotten 6 extra yards on a 2nd and 25, and instead of throwing the challenge flag, he holds it in his hand like this and just sits there next to the ref. Should I drop it? Should I not? Should I drop it? Should I not? Should I drop it? Oh, look, the play clock. Timeout. What the hell are you doing? You call a timeout? Drop the freaking flag. It's in your hand. You lose nothing. I mean, it's just flat out stupidity. And that's what I said. Look, it happens to the best of coaches, but that was flat out stupidity. Unacceptable. No reason for it. You are every error in the book right there. And it set the tone again, because what happened? Well, we didn't convert. Not that 6 yards would have helped us on 3rd and 19 or whatever it would have been instead. But, it's still, the point was
a lot more happened in the game.
So much of a
6-yard
mistake.
Challenge.
And it just set the tone. Everybody, the offense was out of sync. Nothing could get going. I mean, we're going to talk about the offensive line, obviously. At one point, I literally thought that I could do better. And because at least I could say, hey, Josh,
carried away now.
Hey, Josh Allen, they're coming from this point. They're coming right here. So throw the ball that way, because they're coming from right here. It was so bad.
Alaina, what is your biggest takeaway from this game?
Can I make mine a 2-parter?
Absolutely. Anthony got a 5-parter, so two is reasonable.
I couldn't do one.
It's fair. One thing I think that needs to be said, and this, I don't know if this is controversial, I think the defense didn't play that badly. And I think this is a very good defense. And if the offense had done much of anything, we would be talking about how well this defense played. To hold an NFL, they're holding it. I mean, their points per game allowed is insane. I think there's really encouraging signs from this defense. I mean, they lost. There were multiple injuries throughout the game. And no, yes, it was the Jaguars, all of that, but the offense also put them in some really crappy situations, and they played well. So I think that just it gets lost in the anger and the feelings of it, that like this defense is very good.
It is.
But the penalties were absolutely the most first downs the Bills defense gave up came via penalty. That can never happen. That's
ridiculous.
I asked Leslie Frazier about that this week, and he was like just disgusted. Like it was just like it can't happen. And then my second part of the two-part is this offense is relying. My real biggest takeaway is that this offense is relying on Josh Allen too much, which is kind of a crazy concept because he's the starting quarterback and everything runs through Josh Allen, but he's not perfect. They're
a lot of hero ball.
Exactly. They're asking a lot of him. I mean, yes, the offensive line played like crap. You know, it's just not coming together for Cody Ford. There's a lot of things to unpack there, but they're also asking, he had no run support at all. Like he ran the ball better than like the running backs could have dreamed of. Like it was so bad. And they're just asking him to make difficult throws. He's not getting enough help from the wide receivers either, I don't think. So I just think if you look back on this game, I just think it's too much on Josh.
The other major problem that I have with this game is it's consistent now. You came out super flat versus Miami, and just like Alaina said, they relied on Josh Allen to be Josh Allen, the megastar. And he single-handedly, along with Cole Beasley, who stepped up in that second half, got us some points and was able to recover from that horrific start in the previous week. Now you come out in the next game versus a lower opponent and do worse and end up not being able to do that. And Josh wasn't able to be the superstar he is. And you can't rely on him solely to do it by himself, which is what it felt like versus Miami. Granted, again, Cole Beasley stepped up, but it was Josh Allen the entire time that made it. And the end of this game, I mean, it was the whole throughout ugly, brutal, bad. And I mean, I was sincerely worried that Josh Allen was going to get killed. And I'm like, stop it. Like, please take him out. Just lose the game. I don't care if we lose the game. I'd be much more concerned if Josh Allen gets hurt because we have no offensive line and he's getting crushed every play. And even the plays he was able to get the ball off. I mean, it had to be 30 straight plays of defensive
you just hate
pressure.
To see that. You don't want to see your franchise guy get smoked in a meaningless game. It's not meaningless. It is the AFC matchup. It's going to count in the playoffs, right? But the Jaguars. Everyone thought this was going to be a sure shot. But my biggest takeaway, I thought the Jaguars' defensive game plan was phenomenal, and it really confused the offensive line. Kudos to them. They came out motivated. They wanted this win really bad. I think it was I don't think Alaina wrote about it. Shaquille Griffin mentioned that he could see the Bills sideline, and they just knew that they had more energy. The Bills just didn't want to be there at that point. And I think that's due to, taking the hits that Josh Allen took. That's due to, the confusion on the offensive line. I mean, I think every single offensive lineman allowed 5 quarterback pressures, except for maybe Mitch Morris, who allowed 3.
It's so bad.
It's so bad. And it's because, we had, Feliciano's out, so the communication's off a little bit. Spencer Brown is out. And I thought the Jaguars certainly took advantage of that.
Deion Dawkins got worked. He's supposed to be the guy. I mean, I know he's recovering, but come on, we're a few games in now. No excuses. You sucked. Well, again, that was not acceptable.
The other Josh Allen is a top 10 pick. Right. He's been relatively quiet, in my opinion, but it's starting to pick it up now. He had a huge week last week. I think they played Seattle and then obviously dominated this game. So
he should be Defensive Player of the Week without a doubt. He did that.
Well, the real Josh Allen. Please stand. Anyway,
there's also just to quickly take off that. There's not really a strong case for why the left side of the line should be struggling. I know Ike's obviously not whatever, but the right side's a mess because Darrell Williams is in the wrong spot.
Right.
At least we know Cody's not playing great right now. So at least I mean, and that's a bit of an understatement. The left side just shouldn't have struggled as much as it did.
Right. Absolutely agree with that. And if you watch the video on cover 1 from Eric Turner, the title is Buffalo Bills offense not ready for the Jaguars. There is he breaks down the film, does a phenomenal job. And when you're watching it, you can see the tackles. He showed an example of Darrell Williams, and he showed an example of Deion Dawkins, where the Jaguars confused them, and they either went after the wrong guy or froze and allowed a free runner on Josh Allen. So with the Bills' passing concepts and passing the ball down the field so much, that really disrupted their game plan, right?
And
so
their coverage, the coverage they dropped back was they were getting pressure with 3 and 4 guys, so they could drop back and into coverage, and you cover all the guys that Josh Allen wants to throw to, and you're getting to him in less than 2 seconds. I mean, there's nothing he can do at that point, and they really did. Kudos to the Jaguars because they did put him under pressure, and they did the right thing to stop that offense. Yeah.
So let's move on here. We got a lot more to talk about. Let's start with how far do the Bills fall in the current NFL power rankings? Where are they now? Because we just talked about last week, and I'll take the heat for this. I put them number 1 and made a couple of points.
Yes.
Like Alaina said, they're first in the league in points allowed. That defense is really holding teams down. The offense, there was a whole bunch of teams that, there's only 5 teams have more points than them, but the Bills had a bye week, right? But now they definitely are not number 1, and I think maybe fall out of the top 5. And then we also mentioned that Tennessee was not going to be in the top 5, and they came out and played phenomenal. So we were wrong last week. But Alaina, what do you think about the Bills? Do they fall out of the top 5 in the current NFL power rankings? And where do you put them?
Yes, I think they do, which I think is, I'm sorry. I think they do because and it's not because of the AFC. I think only the Titans. I think at this point you have to put the Titans in the top 5. It's just disrespect.
They earned it, right?
The argument not to is not great. And then the rest of the top 5 teams to me are all NFC teams. I think the NFC is way better than, it's not even close. And I just think there's 2. If the issues were just this game, if they hadn't struggled against Miami in similar fashions in the way that they did, I think you say, okay, it was a bad game. They underestimated, excuse me. And they just didn't put enough thought into it. But there's themes. None of it was new, really. And I think that's why there's real concerns. Where I would put them, I think they're still in the top 10 for sure. I might have them 7-ish. I think that's the kind of range. I just think they have more to prove now than they have at any point this season.
They certainly lost a lot of trust. That's for sure. This is supposed to be one of the best offenses in the league, right? And the expectation for that is extremely high. You got to come out week in and week out. The Chiefs certainly raised the bar, in my opinion, in the whole league the last few years. So the Bills certainly are not living up to that standard this year. Anthony, where would you put the Bills?
This is painful this week because honestly, I'd probably not have them in the top 10. They're close to there, but it's you look at the AFC. It depends. We talk about this every week. It really depends on what you take into consideration when you're making your rankings. Are the Bills probably still the favorite in the AFC to make the Super Bowl? Yes, I'd say so. But again, the respect on the Titans. The Titans beat us head-to-head. They've won 3 tough games this year. They lost to the Jets, but we just lost to the Jags. So who are we to talk? They belong in that conversation above the Bills. You look in the AFC standings, the Tennessee Titans, the Baltimore Ravens, the Los Angeles Chargers are all above the Buffalo Bills. Those are all teams we've talked about this year as possibly better than or above people's rankings of the Buffalo Bills. Right now, they're all trending in the right way, and we're not. And so then you've got the teams right behind us, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the New England Patriots. I mean, I wouldn't put the Patriots there just yet, but the Steelers, same record, and they beat us head-to-head, right? How can you say the Bills are better than the Steelers? We're not. That's sad. That's pathetic, but we're not. They beat us head-to-head. And the Raiders, we talked about them. They're trying to fight their way up. You could put them in the conversation. I wouldn't rank them above the Bills. And again, it depends on what you're taking into account, but I can't be a hypocrite. In years past, I'd say the Bills beat this team head-to-head, and that team's reeling, and our team's playing well, and you're not ranking us above them. So now the Bills are on the other side of the coin for me. We're not in the top 10 right now, and we need to reestablish it.
Yeah,
you've completely lost. You finally earned the NFL's respect, and you completely lost it in 1 week.
Right. I wouldn't drop them that far. Reptile agrees with you. He says top 5 ? Are
11.
they?
I'd say we're 11 or 12, 10. Depending on how many NFC
it's a very dramatic fall for a bad week. I think every team does have bad weeks. We know what this Bills offense is capable of.
It's 2 bad weeks.
Yeah, but we know what they're capable of, right? they've shown us time and
defense,
time again that they can really, get it done.
I think you can make the case that they have the best defense in the NFL
Yes.
right now. Like, I think you can make, so I think that helps. I mean, the offense has not been playing well, but I think there's two sides of the football. So
Right, absolutely. And defense wins championships. We'll end it right there. All right, next topic.
Maybe 30 years ago, Eric.
Yeah, I know, right? Josh Allen's tough day. Who should we blame? We did touch on this a little bit, but Josh Allen, 2 interceptions, not good ones. 2 fumbles, 1 loss, and 4 sacks. Is it play calling? Is it the running game? Alaina, what do you got?
I only get to blame one person.
I know, right? That's what I was. No, yeah.
Would you say it's
pass
more
it around because it's
more play calling or more running game? We'll start right there.
That's tough because I think they impact.
Yeah, right. That's they're both the same thing.
I will say I do think it's more what's going on the field. I do think, because I've been like kind of asking around about this because I'm still familiarizing myself with Brian Daboll's scheme and like all that stuff, getting as educated as I can. And I was like, is he always this conservative? So I'll put a little bit on the play calling maybe because I'm kind of convinced myself. This wasn't an issue in this game, but the Bills were leading the league in running plays on 2nd and long.
Oh my god!
And that's like a horrible thing to lead.
It's like giving up with this.
I talked about that last week on the show. Please stop doing that. It doesn't work. Stop calling it. And week after week, they keep calling it like it's going to do something. Yeah. Stop it.
And with their running game especially, and we didn't see that as much this past week. That wasn't the issue, but I just think there were times when I just didn't get what they thought, what was there. So I'm going to put it on the play calling because it didn't put, knowing what they had on the field, I don't felt like it put that team in the best situation to win. So I think it goes to Brian Daboll.
Yeah, and you did put a stat on your Twitter that I stole. The Bills called a pass on 84.6% of plays, the highest percentage of any game that featured neither team scoring 10 points since play designs were first tracked in 2006, and that's per ESPN stats info. 84%, right? That's a lot. So and we've seen this with the Chiefs, right? I always, this is a high-flying offense, so I like to compare it to the Chiefs. And what did the Chiefs do when they started getting, 2 deep safeties and teams really started figuring out their pass game? They draft a running back, and they really committed to the run game last season. Now, they've gotten away from that now, but they had a lot of success with that because, teams were playing back off the line. They weren't really loading the box up. There was room to run, right? And the Bills just seem like they really can't do that. And there's many reasons for that, but
look, though you get it comes down to one thing. You can't run the ball if you don't have an offensive line. I don't care if we've got Derek freaking Henry. He's not getting a damn yard against that offensive line.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He'll fall forward and get 3
He
yards.
is an offensive lineman.
But the bottom line is we don't have Derek Henry, and this offense will never have a Derek Henry. It ain't happening no matter how much Sterling dreams about it, because we know he's like, oh, they need to draft somebody or they need to get the next guy. No, it ain't happening. This offense is built on the pass with Josh Allen, not the run game. But the point is that offensive line, I'm not kidding when I say this, that was one of the worst offensive line performances in NFL history. And you won't see that if you look at the stat sheet because Josh Allen was the quarterback. Put in any other mobile or not quarterback that isn't as strong and as talented and as inhuman an athlete as Josh Allen is, then you have literally the entire worst performance of an offensive line in NFL history. And it was disgusting. I mean, just watching the game, you're like, Josh Allen can't even exhale before there's 2 guys in his face. Josh Allen had to stiff arm a guy or get away from 2 pass rushers before he could even complete or get off the pass. Josh Allen had to fling the ball from his knees because the guy was already tackling him when he snapped it. I mean, it was just sickening how bad the offensive line was. And again, you can't run the ball if you don't have, with the guys we got, without a doubt, and with 90% of the NFL running backs, with that offensive line, you're not doing anything. You're doing exactly what we did, falling forward for a yard or 2 every once in a while, and that's it. Because there's no lanes, there's no blocking. Look, we have injuries on the line. Yes, there's, Spencer Brown, okay, Feliciano, okay. But the point is they haven't addressed it at all. We knew this is the same conversation we had last year, last summer, going into now. Like, the guard position is weak. They failed to address it. We thought, okay, this is the year now. You're going to address something at the trade deadline, get somebody in. You got to, because you're going all in. It's your Super Bowl contenders. Nope. McDermott and Bean said, we're good with the guys we got. And now they look stupid because our offensive line was that freaking bad. And I don't know how it's going to, once Spencer Brown comes back, that'll be a huge boost for them for sure.
Well,
because
Justin
just
says,
attitude wise, he brings
Justin
it.
says we miss Knox. And I think that is absolutely.
That's a huge piece too, but what's Knox going to do when Josh Allen can't even get the ball? He can't even pass it. He can't get open. But yes, we definitely miss Knox, and those injuries hurt as well. But it's got to be, it's all 100% for me on the offensive line and the coaching. We already talked about Sean McDermott's horrible day. We didn't even talk about the decision to not take the 10-yard penalty, to take them out of field goal range. And guess what they won by? A mother freaking field goal. Okay, so don't tell me that wasn't an important decision.
But you're talking about the offensive line. I kind of like how you didn't really point out like Cody Ford or a single player, because this whole offensive line didn't
all
do
of
so
them.
hot.
Yeah.
Garbage.
23 quarterback pressures allowed on 55 dropbacks, and that's PFF stats.
And again, these are stats that are meaningless. Meaningless stats, because it was 100 times worse than everything he's telling you, because Josh Allen made it better. Yeah, keep going, because they're really 10 times worse than these numbers depict.
Deion Dawkins
numbers without watching it.
Deion Dawkins allowed 5 quarterback pressures, 1 sack. Darrell Williams allowed 5 quarterback pressures, 1 sack. Cody Ford allowed 5 quarterback pressures, 1 sack. Ike Bacher allowed 5 quarterback pressures, 1 sack. Mitch Morris allowed 3 quarterback pressures. So it's equal across the line.
Lovely.
Quarterback pressure, that stat does include hurries. And I think, Alaina might know more about this, but different organizations kind of grade it differently. So this is per PFF. But that's definitely eye-opening that it was the whole offensive line. It was the game plan of the defensive line of the Jaguars. And really PFF this was Cody Ford's highest grade of the season in the run game. Not sure how that happened.
What run game? What run?
Exactly. Is Josh Allen scrambling? Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
There you go. It's something.
Yeah. So let's move on here. Alaina, is the Bills running game a fatal flaw for this team? Meaning, when we get to the playoffs, is this going to be the difference between losing in the playoffs and winning the Super Bowl? Is it a fatal flaw?
I'm going to say, with how they're playing right now, yes. The other Josh Allen, after the game, kind of indicated that the Jaguars didn't think they were going to run the ball pretty much at all. That's a problem. If a defense doesn't need to prepare for you to run the football, then it can become a fatal flaw, because you're one-dimensional from the get-go. And then you can't prove them wrong. So I think it can be, if they're playing like this, no defense will be worried. Right now, the Jets defense is not worried about Devin Singletary running on them at all. They're just not. They probably are spending so little time, like a little, you got to plan some for it, but why would you invest that much? It's not, no defense is going to spend a lot of time on that. So I think it can be, if they continue like they are right now. I think there are other issues, but being one-dimensional is huge. And right now, that's kind of what this offense is to an opposing defense.
It seems like, defenses are adjusting. But let's talk to John. John has a super chat for us.
Ooh,
John, thank you again.
Ooh.
It seems like he does this every week for us, so we certainly appreciate it. He says 73, 76, 75, and 60 is $28 million in caps for these 4 in 2021. These men are good players. We have seen it, but they have to play to form. Agree. You got to live up to those contracts, right? That's the name of the game in the NFL. You got to put good film out there to match the contract. It'll be interesting to see. I think I don't think they'll make too many moves. Certainly Spencer Brown coming out of nowhere as a 3rd-round pick to be a starter at right tackle is a bonus, right? So I'm not sure how many years they have on their contract, but if they want to make some changes, I think Spencer Brown really offers them, puts them in a position to do that, because he is on a rookie deal for 4 or 5 years. Any thoughts on that, Anthony?
Other than I agree with it, yeah, they're good, but they have to play the part. I mean, if Mitch Morse was a free agent, a lot of teams would sign him. If Dawkins was a free agent, every NFL team would want Deion Dawkins, but he's not playing well right now. He has to figure it out. I know the COVID thing affected him, but like I said, we're halfway through the dang season. You better figure it out. Put on the weight. Do what you got to do. I don't know how or why or what the problem is, but I bet you the medical team does, and they can identify it and tell him where he needs to improve. So yeah, I mean, just those guys alone. The only one I think that is no longer acceptable is Cody Ford. Like and we've talked about that on the show already, that he ain't it, right? And it's time for the Bills to move on from him, because yeah, he's a backup worthy player at best. And now we saw that even at that, I would rather have scum of the earth free agent than see that again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
gotta improve.
Got to improve. And this kind of falls right into our next topic, the offensive line struggles. I think we've beat this to death.
I didn't get to talk about the run game.
Yeah.
You didn't ask me about the run game, but I'll say we know
you
our
tell
guys
us all the time.
We know our guy Sterling feels that yes, it is as well. He's talked about it. And now I'm actually inching closer to on board that we need to figure out the running game. I still think that we can do it with the combination of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary in the right situations with the right play calling. But with no offensive line, again, it's got to start there. The blocking schemes have got to work for those two running backs to do what they do best. And, we don't need them to be superstars, but we need them to be at least game plannable, like Alaina talked about.
One other thing I think is good to mention with reference to the running backs is Zach Moss is currently in concussion protocol. Yeah. And we know that's kind of like, when someone is coming back, we'll leave that as it is. It's kind of unknown. But someone who's been inactive for a while here is Matt Breida.
Yes.
And for a reason, because they feel like Zach Moss, that there's other guys that they'd rather have up, but maybe this gives someone like Matt Breida an opportunity. And he has a very different skill set than both Zach and Devin. So maybe that provides like a spark. Maybe it's something different. I definitely think that's something, we'll be keeping an eye on this week.
Yeah, Breida was a guy that I wanted last year in the offseason, and then they signed him this offseason, and I was still excited and said the same thing, that he'd be a great speed, change of pace guy, but, hasn't impressed the coaches enough, obviously, that he's been inactive every week. And we'll see. He's going to get a chance now for sure, probably.
Right. This kind of leads into my next point. John, again, always clutch. Bills ran 7 times on first down versus the Jags, gained a total of 10 yards. But Singletary did have he did help out in the passing game. I think it was like 40. He had 8 catches for 40-some yards, which falls in my point. I think Matt Breida could help out in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You just got to get somebody in space. And with speed like Matt Breida, I think, I'm surprised we haven't seen him on the field that much. You got to have at least some sort of packages for a guy like that, because if teams are playing back, the Bills run a ton of concepts that are deep passes, right, over 10 yards. That opens up, I think, the passing game for a running back. And, Josh Allen really doesn't like to check it down. But, I mean, with a guy like Matt Breida, you might break one. You don't know.
Well, and we've talked about
try it before you
we've talked about McDermott's strengths as a coach, and they also come back to haunt him kind of a little bit here, because he firmly believes in his 53. Him and Bean, they've stated it, they've done it through 4 years. When they have their 53, they believe in it. They don't often make trades because they believe in the guys they got and what they are capable of. And this year, that's kind of coming back to haunt them a little bit with, okay, these are your 53, your offensive line isn't playing that great. But now you're running back, what are you going to do there? You've got 3 guys at running back, if you count the special teams play, right? And then now does Breida get the shot? Is he good enough? Because that's the guy you went with in the offseason. Hopefully he has enough energy to be the guy to carry us. Will they now adapt? That's my point, right? They said, here's our roster, here it is. Guess what? It ain't working 2 weeks in a row now, as we talked about. You need to adapt. And that's something that Sean McDermott doesn't like to do. He likes consistency. So we'll see if he's able to say, okay, we really need to do something different. I don't know. Get Gabe Davis the ball more. I don't think that's the answer. But something has to change. Jake Kumro went on the
score a touchdown. I think that's the problem.
Jake Kumro went on the COVID list. So, some other wide receiver is going to be on the roster that can get a shot. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all we got for the Jaguars game. Alaina, certainly been a pleasure. You're more than welcome to continue on with us. We're going to go into the Jets here soon, but if you do have to get going, you've been great.
I can stay on for like 10 more minutes if that's
all right.
up to you.
Sweet.
Completely
Yes,
up to you. So, yes.
absolutely. You can give us your preview for the Jets when we talk about.
I don't want to like push myself on anyone though.
No, absolutely
No.
not. We'll keep you all night if we
Yeah,
could.
absolutely. You're way better guest than Sterling.
Yeah.
All right, so let's shift over to the New York Jets matchup. They're going to have 10 more. Or they have the gap where they have 10 days to prepare for the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills are on the regular week right? Here. I think you're going to get the Jets' best shot. That's just my opinion. I've been saying it for a few weeks. It's a rival game. I think the Jets, look, they're not as bad as they were last year. They're still not good. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. We'll find out tomorrow. But I think they do believe in their head coach, which is different, and we've seen this with Sean McDermott. We've seen it with Brian Flores in the AFC East. They can rally a team for one game, and most of the time it's a rival game. The Jets did play the Bills pretty tough last year. The Bills pulled it out 18-10, but it was a struggle. It was the Tyler Bass saving the day game where he had like 5 field goals, remember?
Yeah.
But the first topic here, the Jets placed both Marcus May and Tyler Croft on IR. That is great news for the Bills. Because really, I think Tyler Croft, what we're familiar with, he's really done a lot for the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Alaina, what are your thoughts on the Jets with these 2 players out?
I mean, I think it's a big deal. We knew Marcus May, it wasn't a surprise. I think that he got injured in that game against the Colts, but I mean, it's good when those are 2 good Jet players. I think that's good for the Bills, but kind of like you were saying, I think they're going to still get their best shot. Like even without these guys, like I think Marcus May might be the bigger I don't know. They're both big absences.
Certainly a leader.
Marcus May is a great player and like a key member of that defense. And I think him being out is, especially for a struggling Bills offense, is a big deal.
For sure, Anthony.
Hopefully it'll affect that backfield, right? Because again, now the playbook is out there on what Josh Allen struggles against. Throw everybody back, bring 3. And, if the guys aren't open and the offensive line can't hold, something's going to give and it ain't going to turn out well for the Bills. So not having one of your, if not the best player on the Jets in Marcus May, and he's now out, that's ginormously huge because, again, I think we as Bills fans now have to question. We're in this brand new position of being the Super Bowl favorite, of being the pick in the AFC, and now it's everybody who's on that schedule is coming at you with everything they got because this is their Super Bowl. The Jags beat us. They don't care what happens the rest of the season. They hope they lose, then they get a better draft pick, right? But it's seriously, that is the highlight of their season. Same thing with the Jets. And in the preseason, I warned about this exact thing. With the Jets in the division, when I said, who's going to beat the Bills if the Bills lose in the division, I said, well, they're going to bring it versus the Patriots, so I don't think they'll lose against the Patriots. And against Miami, we know Josh Allen and the Bills own Miami, so that didn't worry me. It was the Jets. The Jets with their roster, with the young guys they got, it only takes a couple of guys that the Bills are not familiar with to step up. The quarterback, the wide receivers they've got now, they've got playmakers, they're running backs. They've definitely got players who can have an impact on the game, and they should not be overlooked. I think we definitely overlooked Jacksonville. Hopefully now they learn their lesson, and they're preparing for the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend. Like, the game, the way they prepped for that game, the energy they brought for that game when it was, okay, we have to prove we can beat the Chiefs. Now you have to prove you can beat the Jets because, quite honestly, we got nothing. You're supposed to beat them, but, I don't know if you're going to beat them. You've got to come out with the energy to say you can beat them, even when you're getting their best shot.
Right, and I think with Marcus May out, that's a huge piece for them. You got to rely on these young cornerbacks, Bryce Hall, Nazarel Dean, Justin Hardy, who I'm not too familiar with, but I think was it Bryce Hall that came out with a comment this week and said, Marcus May is their leader. It's going to be a completely different secondary with him out. So I got a couple cash or trash questions. So let's pull out our old.
We're gonna do a little cash or trash. That's trash, bro. I'm gonna go cash on that.
And the first one up Zach Wilson is the 4th best quarterback in the AFC East. Cash or trash? Alaina, what do you got?
Oh. Trash. Right?
Ooh.
Yeah,
Ooh.
trash. It's Tua. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm going with Tua.
That's the great debate.
Yeah, I think
Or could he be the 5th best
5th,
quarterback
right.
in the quarterback?
I
Just haven't seen a lot of them.
I'm back and forth on that. I'm gonna go with Tua for right now, and I think it's flexible because we've seen more of Tua, and he's been playing better as of late, absolutely. But I think when he has played, he's been very injured. But I think we've seen more of Tua, and Zach hasn't been fantastic in the small sample size we've seen. But I think it's just too early to be like, oh, that's a theme, as opposed to being a rookie quarterback. So I'm gonna go with he's 3rd for now.
3rd, so that is trash. OG Brooklyn agrees with you here. Trash. But a little debate, Justin goes with cash.
I think I'm going to go.
Justin says they're both bad.
I think I'm going to go cash because I think Tua's 5th. Tua's 5th.
Okay, all right.
That would put what's his name, the backup who did well for the Jets, at
Mike
3rd.
White.
Mike White.
Yeah, Mike White as 3rd, and then Zach Wilson at 4th. Zach Wilson hasn't had a chance to show what he can do. Tua has. Tua's trash. He's done. I don't think he's going to be it in the NFL. We've seen enough from him. I mean, he's improved a little bit, but doesn't look like
he has improved a little bit.
It's not. He doesn't look like he has a ceiling. All right, it's not like, oh my God, this is going to be Josh Allen level improvements little by little over the years, and he's going to be a superstar. No, he looks like he is what he is, and that's all it's going to be. And Mike White, and now maybe Zach Wilson. I was high on Zach Wilson coming into the year. I think injuries, we'll see what he can be when he gets a chance. Now it's if he gets the chance to play, because they're like, oh, we don't even know. Zach Wilson returns to practice this week, allegedly. That's what's coming out of the Jets so far. They expect him to be back at practice on Wednesday. And when asked, they said, we don't know who's going to be quarterback on Sunday.
Yeah.
My guess is you drafted this guy number 2 overall. Okay. Hold him out another 3 weeks. You got nothing to lose by letting him get healthy and sit on the bench, no matter how well Mike White plays.
Right. I think
just let him rest.
He's seen the team rally about Mike White. Again, if you watch the press conferences, the offensive line was raving about Mike White's confidence, and maybe that's something that Zach Wilson lacks right now. But different Justin says the order is Allen, Jones, Trubisky, Mike White, Zach Wilson, and Tua.
Yeah, there you go.
That's probably a little more accurate. You could probably maybe put Trubisky ahead of Jones.
I'll say Mitch Trubisky has sat on the bench almost all season. What a move. I mean, if people are talking about him now, and I don't necessarily disagree with that, but wow, he's come out of this, people are just oh, well, Mitch Trubisky, like he played so well with the Bears. It's very interesting to me.
I know. He's definitely an athlete. It's back to that argument of, is it the organization or is it the quarterback, right? And the thing with Mitch Trubisky is he is sitting the bench. So there's reasons for that.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll move on to the next one.
Top 5 backup for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Ooh, that's a good one. Top backup in the league, maybe. Anyway, Anthony, you're up first this time. Cash or trash? The Jets' next 4 opponents are versus the Bills, versus the Dolphins, at Houston, versus the Eagles. They will win 3 of the next 4.
Wow. Ooh, that's tough because 2 out of 4,
Titans,
I'd say cash in a second. 3 out of 4, I'll take it. I'll say cash because I do think I think I predicted the Jets to win more games than most did this season. The Dolphins are just reeling right now, and should they beat the Jets? Yes, but I think the Jets are much more inspired right now than the Dolphins are. I don't think the Jets are going to beat the Bills. We can start there. Houston, how many times do I have to say this? They are not an NFL franchise. They are not a high school franchise at this point. No, they have no chance of winning. Yeah, well, great. And what did they do this week? Yeah. I'm just going to continue to bet against Houston, against the spread every single week, no matter who they're playing. And the Eagles, well, sure, they look a little better. They've got some playmakers, but they're in the NFC least, and they're competing, and they don't look that good either. And I think the Jets, if they get that momentum going versus Bills and Houston or versus Dolphins in Houston, they can beat the Eagles. Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
I'm going cash just because I think it's fun.
Alaina, what do you got for this one?
I thought about this while you were answering. I was like, how do I feel about that? I think I'm gonna go trash. I think they'll do 2. I don't think they'll beat the Bills. I think what's interesting about the Dolphins is it's because we thought they were supposed to be good. Like for some reason, I'm inclined to give them a little more leeway or something. So I think the Dolphins win that game. Although I think it could go either way based on where things stand now. The Jets have so many injuries. Their quarterback situation's weird. Although the Dolphins is too. So I think I'd go with the Dolphins. Houston.
Yeah, Houston's a mess.
Not
The
even.
Eagles, I think the Eagles are better than their record shows.
Yeah.
You know, they've lost some close games. I think they've played well in a lot of games this year. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I would go trash on this as well. And we don't know who the quarterback's going to be for the Jets, right?
That's true.
No idea. If
Weird.
it's
Josh
Zach
Johnson?
Wilson, you know, they might win one game.
Yeah.
But it's all about developing the quarterback for them, not winning games right now. All right, I got one more, Alaina, before you go.
Okay.
Trying to make it quick here. Cash or trash? The Bills should be worried if Mike White plays Sunday. Because Cincinnati was not expecting Mike White to come out and throw for 400 yards with only 7 incompletions.
Worried?
Should the Bills be worried?
I'm gonna say trash on this because I don't think it matters who's quarterback of the Jets for the Bills. The Bills defense should have no problem with this Jets offense. If they do, I think we should call it wraps. Like I think that would be, I don't even know. So I'm gonna say trash on that. I think the opposite side of the ball is where their true tests still are. So for me, the Jets could put whoever out there, and I have confidence that we've seen enough from this Bills defense to play well. Although it is weird that to not know who's playing quarterback. It's a really strange thing. There could be 3 guys.
Yeah, one of
It's very telling of how your team's doing.
Exactly. So no, I think the true test will come on the other side of the ball, and that's where any worry should be associated.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'd have to agree there that no, I'm not, because this is the textbook. You know, it's the big thick textbook now too, that the Bills, when facing crappy, unexperienced rookie, new quarterbacks, they dominate. The defense does what it does. The only question remaining is, can this defense play that dominant against a quarterback who knows what they're doing? Luckily for us, that ain't going to happen for a few weeks. Carson Wentz is the next one on the list, and there's questions around him too. And then it's Mac Jones, and it's like, okay, well, he's a rookie. So back to that giant textbook of all 3 of those potential quarterbacks for the Jets fit the scenario.
You skipped Trevor Siemian there.
Oh, yeah, right.
Well,
yeah,
don't leave out,
Yeah, there you go. Trevor Siemian. You never know.
Yes.
I mean, hey, we used to live in Denver here, so we know about Trevor Siemian. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just I'm not worried about the defense facing an inexperienced quarterback in this offense. We know what they do. They'll give up a big play or two. They'll, give up some points, but they hold and they play well. And even against Jacksonville this week, the thing with the defense was they had this close to making some huge plays. Tremaine Edmonds had an interception in his hands and it just blooped right out of him. And I'm like, no, that was the game right there. We needed that. Year, he is. And they were. It was just like a couple of small plays, or when they did make a big play, flag, breathing on the defense, like we said. So I fully expect that no matter what the Jets do, they might be able to score a few points, and make a few plays that look good. But yeah, I trust that the defense is going to hold there.
Yeah. All right, that's all we got for cash or trash. Again, Alaina, you did say 10 minutes, and I think we went over just a little bit.
Yeah.
So certainly appreciate your time. You've been so great. Thank you for coming on our podcast.
Yeah, we really appreciate
it. For everybody who doesn't know, Alaina Getzenberg, am I pronouncing that correctly?
You got it.
Getzenberg.
It's a long one. It's
Bills reporter since September. You can find her most recent article on ESPN, What Went Wrong with the Buffalo Bills Offense and Can It Be Fixed? Can you tell everybody where to find you, Alaina?
Yes. Like you said, ESPN.com. You can just follow the NFL, follow the Bills stuff. It's not hard to find. It's all free, and which is great. Something that's new to me is all the content's easy to find, and it's available for anyone. And then I'm on Twitter at A Getzenberg. I won't bother spelling it out. You can find it if you want to at
Yes.
AGETZ, and then the rest will follow in.
And we can put it in our description after the show.
Yes, definitely.
It's a long last name and just a pain with N.
Worth to follow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm putting in the work. Talk about somebody who puts in the work, Alaina. Really, I mean, since you've come on in September and you told us before, it's not like you had a lot of previous notice that you were going to be taking this job and this was going to happen. But the work you put in shows, both on Twitter with some of the tweets you put out, the facts, your articles. We really appreciate it as Bills fans. I think I could speak for a big crowd of Bills Mafia when we say that. I know you had big shoes to fill with Marcel Louis-Jacques, but you're doing an awesome job, and it shows in the content that you put out alone. So thank you for that.
Well, really
and thank you for being
it.
with us. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you guys so much for having me. Like I was telling you guys before, I've been so welcomed by Bills fans, and it's so cool to see a community that cares so much. And I love talking about it, and it's cool I really enjoy talking with you guys. So thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, same here. Certainly appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
We'll be in touch for sure.
All right,
You'll see us out there. Have a good one.
Okay, we got a couple more topics we want to hit. First up, do you want to do the 5 for 5, Anthony?
Sure, let's do it. Why not?
Let's kick off at 5 for 5 and get people familiar with the matchups this week.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you believe it again? Week 9 of the NFL season. We had a slight adjustment midweek this time, learning that Aaron Rodgers was not going to play against Kansas City. So I decided to keep the line. I kept my bet on Green Bay, but the line changed to +7 for Green Bay where it was +2. And I still said I'm taking Green Bay +7, and that ended up paying off. So instead of being my big bet of the week, I made that my 5th bet. And my big bet of the week became the Chargers at Philly, another win. So, ladies and gentlemen, we went 4-1 once again on the 5 for 5. This is incredible. This type of run is unspeakable. And I mean, we have it here every week for you. It's in writing. It's here. 4-1. We went 3-2 last week. We've gone 4-1 for the majority of the season. Still looking for that 5-0, hoping it comes this week. And again, the one loss I had was the Bills. They say don't bet on your own team, and look at that. It definitely bit me again that week. So we're starting it off with week 10, 5 for 5. Here we go. My first bet of the week is the Carolina Panthers. Christian McCaffrey returns this past week, +9.5 versus Arizona. I still think Arizona finds a way to win this game. If their backup plays, who knows? But Carolina +9.5, it's definitely going to be a lot closer than that. So they're my 5th bet of the week. Number 4 on my list for this week is Baltimore -7 at Miami. We just talked about how Miami is reeling. I honestly think Baltimore is trending in the right direction. Miami isn't. Their strength is the run game. That's going to bode well for them against Miami. So I've got Baltimore -7 at Miami. My 3rd bet of the week is the Atlanta Falcons +9.5 versus the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys just got whooped by the Broncos. Yes, I expect them to put a beating on Atlanta, but Atlanta knows how to hang in games and keep the score close. So the 9.5 was just a little bit too much for me. I think Dallas wins by a touchdown. So Atlanta's my 3rd bet of the week. My 2nd bet of the week, the Tennessee Titans -2.5 versus the Saints. Tennessee's been on a bit of a roll. I think they can continue that. The Saints still have a bunch of question marks on them. So I'm taking Tennessee -2.5. My big bet of the week, the team that made the upset last week, the Denver Broncos are -2.5 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Although Philadelphia's been improving, I don't think they're that great. Denver's finally finding their groove with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. Jerry Jeudy's back in the fold. -2.5. I think they win by well more than that, at least a touchdown. So that is my big bet of the week for week 10. There we go. We're looking for those 5. We got to go 5-0, ladies and gentlemen. We've been going 4-1, ever so close every single week. So let me run it by you again. My 5 bets of the week: Carolina +9.5 versus Arizona, Baltimore -7 at Miami, Atlanta +9.5 at Dallas, Tennessee -2.5 versus the Saints, and the Denver Broncos, my big bet of the week, -2.5 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Bet these teams. We've been on absolute fire. Hopefully you're making as much money this season as these picks are implying, because it's been an unbelievable run so far. Let's keep it going. Get that money.
We got switched around here.
There we go.
Oh, well. So, yeah, been doing really good in Taylor's site. Had a down week last week, but I think we've been crushing it with our picks. So definitely listen to Anthony. His 5 for 5 has been phenomenal this year. So thanks for sharing that. Let's get into the Jets matchup a little bit. How the Bills can win on offense versus the Jets. Obviously, Marcus May out. That is huge news, as the Jets defense is the opponent average for yards per game is 408 yards for this Jets defense. That's 32nd in the league. The opponent average rushing yards per game, or rushing yards allowed, 133, is 27th in the league. An opponent's average passing yards per game, or passing yards allowed, 275 yards per game, is 29th in the league. And now you're down Marcus May. You think the Bills and their strengths and with throwing the ball 85% of the time would fall right into their lap in this game. But now I think there's some different film out there from the Jacksonville game. What do you think about that? Do you think the Bills can stick to their guns versus this team, or do you have to make some changes?
I think I'm very thankful that this team is still the New York Jets, because otherwise I would be concerned. How can the Bills win on offense? They have to do what works for them. First of all, they need the offensive line to show up, okay? Because this defensive line also very similar to Jacksonville. You got a guy in Quinnen Williams who's a potential he was a top 10 pick, potential star player, really good for them, right? A guy you got to at least look at. And now guess who they got? Former Buffalo Bill, Shaq Lawson. Not what you would call a superstar player, but neither is any other player on the Jacksonville Jaguars D-line, and everybody looked like a star against our offensive line. We're not sure yet. It's early in the week. It's Tuesday, so we don't know who's going to be healthy for this game in terms of the Bills' offensive line. No John Feliciano. He's on IR, but we don't know if Spencer Brown's returning. We don't know if they're going to make changes along the guard positions. Cody Ford and Ike Bacher were not very good in that game. But the offensive line has to show up, has to play well. At least give Josh Allen 2 seconds. 2 seconds, and he can tear this defense apart. As we've said, they're weak now in the secondary. Josh Allen can eat them up like Swiss cheese, but he's got to be able to at least cock his arm back and let the football go. So please, offensive line, show up. That's all you got to do. You don't need to play all-star level. You just give him a little bit of time. Come on, and don't let those guys get through on every play and get pressure, because that's not going to bode well for the Bills.
And have them having CJ Mosley. I mean, that's been a huge upgrade this season for them. He's one of the best linebackers in the league at one point. Had a bunch of injuries and stuff. And then Quinnen Williams, I think, is developing into a really nice piece in the middle. He's extremely disruptive. It takes a lot to block him. And I think them bringing Sheldon Rankins over from New Orleans certainly helped out Quinnen Williams in the middle. Same concept as Ed Oliver in the middle with Star Lotulelei. They kind of build off each other and take blockers on, right? So certainly an issue there. I don't know if you could run the football on this team. I mean, it'd be a good time to maybe try practice some runs, maybe get better at running. I mean, they are giving up 133 yards per game, 27th in the league. Like I said, it would maybe catch them off guard a little bit, because I fully anticipate the Jets defense is planning for a passing attack.
Yes, and I fully anticipate that Josh Allen will once again be the leading rusher in this game, unfortunately. I mean, again, maybe Breida's out there because of the injury to Zach Moss. Maybe that changes things. You can throw Breida at this defense and see what happens. They're not ready for that. They don't know that he's going to be playing in this game. So that could change things a little bit, but I fully expect that when the run comes, it's going to be because the Jets are trying to drop everybody back in coverage. And when that does happen, like it or not, the best thing is for Josh Allen to run. If everything's covered, there's an opening for him to run somewhere. And we already talked about how the offensive line hasn't gotten it done. So if they can't block for the running backs, which is the absolute key thing we need for those running backs, then Josh Allen's got to get it done himself. So I expect we will have 100 rushing yards, but I don't know if it's going to come from the running backs themselves. We'll see. And maybe they throw some Isaiah McKenzie out there again, trying some trick plays or whatever. This is the game to do that. This is the game to pull out the playbook, try some things that, you got to change it up. You got to get something working so that teams, as Alaina alluded to earlier, have to prep for the Bills in the run game. If you're
Right.
one-dimensional, you're not going to win against good teams. I've said that for week in and week out now. You got to be prepared to play those games against teams that are going to contend with you.
Right, and it's kind of a similar matchup to Jacksonville in the fact that I think the Jets' strength is certainly the defensive-minded head coach. Salah's had tons of success in the league with the 49ers as a defensive coordinator. I think he knows what he's doing. But the offense really doesn't do much for the Jets, right? I thought early in the year they could come out and run the football a lot, but they really don't do that because Mekhi Becton goes down. The running backs really aren't up to the NFL standard, in my opinion. They just seem to fall on their face. So I would expect a strong defensive game plan and then do what you can on offense from the Jets. But let's switch over to the other side. How can the Bills win on defense? We did touch on the offense, but the Jets' offense. I think you got to worry about. Corey Davis was out last week. He's injured last week.
Mm-hmm.
Tevin Coleman was out last week. George Fant, I think, was questionable. I'm not sure if he played or not. So they're pretty banged up on offense. And I think having Corey Davis on the field versus him being off the field is a huge difference for this Jets team because I think he is a talented receiver, and he's done a lot for them this season.
Yeah, I think one of the matchups I look at again every week, I think, is our D line versus the opposing offensive line. The Bills get a look at Elijah Vera Tucker, a guy we talked about a lot in the offseason as a potential target for the Bills and probably our favorite offensive lineman in the draft for sure, at least mine. And you look at him, being at left guard, George Fant at left tackle. Their offensive line is okay. It's better than the Bills. I'd trade ours right now for theirs, but it's going to be a good matchup, I think, for our defensive pass rushers. Can we get some stats though? Can we hit the quarterback? Can we get Jerry Hughes a sack? Like, come on, man. You're right there every time. Let's get a sack without getting a penalty. I'm sure the refs from last week would throw a flag if he even came close, but I think that's the advantage I want to see in this game. I fully expect Trey White to do his thing. There's no wide receiver on this team who's, going to be a huge threat. They have speedy receivers. They can make plays. If Corey Davis plays, that's going to be a big threat. If Mims was available, he's speedy, but they have injuries and they're not good when they are 100% healthy.
Right.
They can't hang with our guys when they're 100% healthy. When they're banged up, it's that much more favorable for us. And where it affects us is at the defensive line because our defensive backs are capable of doing it. You don't need to drop extra. You can do single safety looks or whatever. And it's just going to bode well entirely for the Bills D-line and the pressure on the quarterback, whichever quarterback it may be.
Right. And the average rushing yards per game for the Jets, 77. That's 30th in the league. Average passing yards per game for the Jets, 251 yards. That's 14th in the league. I think Mike White that 1 week just had a lot to do with where they rank.
Blew up the stat sheet.
Couple other notable things. Average starting field position is 32nd in the league. How much does that matter? If you're continually having to do extra plays to sustain long drives, I think that definitely hurts. And the turnover ratio, talk about it every week. Bills are now plus 11, back to where they were. And then the Jets are negative 12, 32nd in the league. Points allowed per game for the Jets, 31. That's 32nd in the league. And then points scored per game for the Jets, 27th in the league at 18. So, you look at that, the team stats and things, and same as last week, it should be a breeze, right?
You can't underestimate anything, right? You can't. You gotta come prepared. You gotta execute. I don't care who's playing defense for them against our offense. I don't care who's playing quarterback for them against our defense. You got to execute. Yeah. And I really want to see that big play from the defense this week. You're playing a subpar offense. You were last weekend, and you couldn't get that big play that would have made the difference. Because when it comes playoff time, even if you play this dominant, and our offense is that terrible, they need to be able to make the big play at some point. You know, you got to have that big interception. You got to have a touchdown or a fumble recovery or a safety, something. Give me a big play that makes our defense look that much more elite. And that will be something that could carry us moving forward. Momentum. This is a get it right game, not a get right game,
Team
but
chemistry
a get it
game,
right, because you didn't get it right versus the Jags. Now you basically get a redo versus the Jets.
Here's my concerns for this game. They've had extra time to prepare for the Bills, extra rest. Like they're going to bring the energy. They're going to feel more prepared than most weeks, right? It is a rival game. Bills have a target on their back. I think you're going to get the Jets' best effort. If that means anything, I don't know. You know, but I think they're going to give a hell of an effort. Tehran Johnson out with a head injury. Is there any update on that? I haven't looked into it.
Not that I've seen at all. Yeah.
I mean,
same with Zach Moss and the concussion.
Tehran Johnson's very important to the defense. This game in particular with Jamison Crowder and Elijah Moore, both, you know, kind of play, you know, in the slot. That worries me. Another concern I have is, which quarterback do you prepare for?
Yeah.
You really have three options, right? Zach Wilson, and this is well played by Robert Saleh and company. And Sean McDermott's done this a few times. They wait to the last second to announce it. I mean, he did say he was going to announce tomorrow, but it's smarter just to wait till Friday, right?
Yeah, right. Make them worry.
You know, teams will prepare for one, or do they split their time? Either way, it takes away from a common direction, right? Of preparing for one quarterback and feeling confident going into the game. So those are my primary concerns as far as momentum.
I think Tehran Johnson's a big one, because we saw when he went out of the game that not only was Jacksonville targeting that position, but they were targeting, you know, they got penalties all over the place. You come and make a play, and then they throw a penalty. What's his name? Who came in for Tehran Johnson? Why am I
Siran Neal.
Right? Siran Neal. Yeah. So Siran Neal came in and he even made a couple plays, but they were flagged, even though they were like, oh, maybe it was a flag. You can't have that.
It's tough. It's really tough to come off the bench and play disciplined foot. You know, you practice, but when you're in the game, the nerves are there. I think last year Tehran Johnson was on the field for 77% of the plays. I mean, that's a big load to carry. And when your number gets called, it's different than practice, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
we need to execute, man. Both sides of the ball execute. You know, I don't care if this game is 51-0. I'm not going to be smiling and celebrating. I'm going to be saying, now go out and do it again. Now go out and prove you can do it again. I don't want to see anybody sitting in this game. I don't care if we're up 51-0. All your starters are playing. Go out and score again. All the starters in defense, go out and intercept the ball again. All the starters on offense, go out and pass the ball and score again. Make it 58-0. All right? I don't care. There's nothing they can do in this game to make me say, excellent, that was phenomenal, let's go. No, this is the expectation. You got to go out and show that you can execute. Prove again that the Jacksonville game, that the Miami start, those were flukes, and that you are the Super Bowl contender that everybody is now stating that you are. Right. You got to get it right. And it's just you got to execute. There's nothing you can do. And that goes for the coaches too. You know, you can't, Sean McDermott, you can't decline a penalty and give up a field goal that ends up being the difference in the game. That is on you. So regardless of how bad the offense and defense played, Sean McDermott lost the game by not accepting a penalty and getting a field goal. You know, he's got to play better too. He's got to coach better. It's just not
right.
It didn't bode well.
Maybe the trap game, right? We say that term all the time. Mm-hmm. Maybe that was definition trap game with the Jaguars, but it doesn't happen twice, right? 2 trap games in a row. I don't think that happens twice. So
no,
I think
they're Bills, ready now.
We know the team. They're going to be focused. They got embarrassed. You know, they're feeling it now. Everyone is on them. They, like you said, they dropped 10 spots in the power rankings or whatever. But I fully expect them to bounce back. So let's lead into bold predictions. We'll cap it off here. Bold predictions. What you got?
That's a good
This is your
question
game.
because again,
This is your game.
51. Yeah, is that bold? I don't know. That the offense.
Anybody in the chat, what's your bold predictions for the game?
I honestly think that, again, the offense has to execute. The offense has to get it done. We know the defense is going to bring it. So I'm gonna say my bold prediction, if you're gonna call it that, is a defensive touchdown, one way or another. Fumble recovery, interception. We haven't had that big play. I want to see it. Defensive touchdown. And the offense gets back on track. Let's get Josh Allen 400 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. Do it.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Tyler Bass breaks the NFL record for field goals.
You could do that too.
I'm not sure what that is.
That's the most consistent thing on this team right now. The most consistent. Kick a field goal, it's good.
NFL record for field goals in a game, because I'm always reminded of last year when the Jets did give a good effort. And Tyler Bass came out of nowhere as a rookie, right? And he won the game for the team. So NFL, what am I looking up here? NFL record for field goals in one game.
We win 11-10 with 1 defensive touchdown. That'd be so sad, but it might happen. Oh, man.
8 field goals. Okay, it says 8 field goal attempts. Rob Baronis, Tennessee Titans, win over the Houston Texans in 2007.
That's bold.
So could we see 8 field goal attempts from Tyler Bass?
That would be horrible. That would be, no red. As long as the Bills don't get in the red zone, right? Like, God forbid you get in the red zone, you're going to kick a field goal. So score from 30 yards out and you're good. So
in that same game, he made all 8. So it looks like the attempts. Yeah, the attempts. Let's see here. Yep. Okay. Attempts and field goals made is the same record. Rob Baronis, Tennessee Titans, 2007.
Bold prediction: the Bills score a touchdown. That's a bold prediction, right?
Realistically, though, you could say the Bills put up 40, and I don't know how bold that is. I mean, coming off last week, that is a bold prediction. But if you just go back a few weeks before Miami,
that would have been
that was kind of the expectation, right? So, then a little slump here. I expect them to bounce back full speed.
Eric, we're both getting an F this week because you and I are wearing green on Jets week. I don't think either one of us planned it that way, but we're both wearing green on Jets week.
Yeah. It's also the
At
color.
Least it wasn't next week.
Hang on. It's not the Jets. It's also the color of money.
That's right.
I won my DraftKings league this week, and I won my regular fantasy league. So I'll go ahead and just count it as that.
Yep. And 4-1 again on the 5 for 5. So money. Let's do it.
So, all right. So I'm saying the Bills score 40 and Tyler Bass gets 5 field goals.
Nice. I love it. Most consistent thing on the team. Like I said, you put him out there, you know what's going to happen.
All right. So we got one more thing here, and then we're going to call it a day. But if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, go ahead, send us an email to thehooflive@gmail.com. Be sure to follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel, to all our podcasts on all the major platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave a review. Tell us how we can get better. Any feedback is good feedback. We certainly enjoy doing this week in and week out. We definitely miss our guy Sterling. Especially was looking forward to Anthony and Sterling's reactions this week. But I'm sure you'll get something from Sterling maybe later in the week. I don't think he can just let it go. So
been trash, especially with the running back situation. I mean, you're going to hear from him. And the offensive line, just garbage. Worst ever performance. Worst.
Here comes Luke with the facts here. Luke Ryan, Tyler Bass went 6 of 8 last year against the Jets.
Interesting.
And the record's 7 for Rob Baronis.
7 out of 8.
Not 8, yeah. I just did the first thing on Google here, and I think it just says attempts, so that makes sense. Anyway, thank you for spending time with us. Great guest with Alaina. I thought we did a good job filling in.
She was awesome. Yes.
So I appreciate everybody bearing with us, and this is a tough week. I haven't been mad at the Bills like that in a long time.
Whoa. Did you see my tweet at halftime? I said in my tweet at halftime, Well, it must be 2008. So what I want to see here is less Trent Edwards. You know, the Bills aren't passing efficiently. More Marshawn Lynch in this game, and keep the ball away from Maurice Jones-Drew, who's the big playmaker for the Jaguars at this point. It really felt like 2008 when the Bills finished 7-9 and the Jags finished like 4-10.
We got to go back to our curse conversation. Why don't the Bills score touchdowns in Jacksonville? That's weird to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
I went to the playoff game there and with Tyrod Taylor, and the Bills didn't score touchdowns. It was terrible. Awful game to watch.
Yeah.
But it's first
Bad
time in
matchup.
17 years, so I had to be there for that. Anyway, thank you, everybody. We will see you next week. Don't miss it. Every Tuesday, 9 p.m. on the Cover One Network. Hopefully it's a victory.
Go Bills, baby.